Welcome back. Today we're looking at a script for a video commentary arguing that Black Lives Matter is at its core a Marxist organization descended from the Weather Underground.
It's a heavy topic. A lot of research in this one.
A ton. Okay, let's just dive right in. So the first thing that stands out is that the argument really leans on a kind of transitive property of ideology. You know, the idea that because person A mentored person B, then person B's group must share all the same tactics as person A's old group.
Right. The script spends a lot of time, a significant amount of time, establishing that Eric Mann from the Weather Underground mentored Patrice Cullers of BLM.
Yes.
And because the Weather Underground, bombed the Pentagon in the 70s, the script implies that BLM is basically the modern version of that specific kind of terrorism.
Exactly. And the weakness there is, well, it's essentially the fruit of the poisonous tree fallacy, right?
Yeah.
The script gives you all this visceral, shocking history about the Weather Underground, the kill your parents quote, the townhouse explosion.
All of it.
But it just assumes we'll automatically accept that those exact violent tactics were transferred to BLM just because of that one mentorship. The link is, more emotional than it is evidence-based.
It's pure guilt by association. And a skeptical listener might just say, okay, look, I had a radical professor in college, but that doesn't mean my accounting firm is a revolutionary cell.
Precisely. You can't just imply the ideology was transferred by, osmosis.
So to make this stronger, you need to bridge that gap.
The suggestion is to bridge it with direct evidence of shared tactics, or even better, shared text. Move from who they know to what they actually wrote.
Okay, so for a concrete example, instead of just listing every bombing the Weather Underground did for shock value,
you could pick one specific ideological pillar. For example, the script mentions they were anti-imperialist.
Right.
Well, find the Weather Underground's specific definition of U.S. imperialism and put it side by side with something from the BLM website or the manifesto from that Labor Community Strategy Center.
So you explicitly draw the line. You're saying, look, the Weather Underground believed X, and we see that exact same phrasing, that exact idea, in BLM's policy paper on Y.
Yes, that moves the argument from these people hung out to these people think exactly alike.
As to how those ideas are being presented, because even if the logic is perfect, the tone can kill it.
Right. The current tone of the piece uses this really absolute hyperbolic language. It pretty much limits the audience to people who already agree with the premise from the jump.
I notice that immediately. You get phrases like 100% a hate group, pseudo-intellectual language, crazier still. It even speculates that opponents might get a bullet to the head. It's very intense. It feels like the narrator is screaming at me.
It is intense. And the weakness is that this aggressive framing just signals to any neutral listener that this is a rant, not an investigation. It actually hurts the credibility of the research into the Marxist connection.
It's like, if the facts are so damning on their own, why does the narrator need to yell them? The adjectives are doing all the work instead of the evidence.
Yes. So the suggestion here is to adopt more of a cold investigator persona. The argument about the Marxist roots is so much stronger if it's presented dispassionately.
Let the facts be the shocking part.
Let the facts be the shock, not the narrator's adjectives. Imagine a detective just laying out photos on a table. He doesn't need to scream murderer, he just shows you the weapon.
So, less editorializing, more exhibiting.
Exactly. Let's get concrete. The script says they use all this pseudo-intellectual language to try to disguise their bigotry.
Which just sounds dismissive.
It sounds defensive. A stronger, colder version would be something like, they utilize academic terminology which reframes traditional social structures as oppressive.
That sounds much more authoritative. It shows you understand their language. You're not just scared of it.
What about the part on the nuclear family? The script sort of mocks it sarcastically. No more mom, dad, and kids. We don't like that.
Yeah, that needs to change.
Instead of mocking it, analyze the sociological implications seriously. Explain why Marxists view the nuclear family as a capitalist tool.
Because it's the main unit for consumption and inheritance that preserves class.
Right. That's an educational moment that actually proves your thesis. Making fun of it just proves you don't understand their argument.
It's a subtle shift, but it's huge. And I'm guessing we should also remove the speculation about resentment towards white people.
Absolute. Focus on the stated policy. Saying someone resents a group is just it's an opinion.
But quoting a policy that redistributes resources based on race,
that's evident. One is verifiable, the other.
And that actually leads perfectly into the next big issue, which is how the script handles the subject's personal life. It gets very personal about Patrice Cullers.
Yes, let's dig into that, because the script really dilutes its political critique by psychoanalyzing her personal history and family trauma.
I was uncomfortable with that section. I mean, it goes into her brother's mental illness, his incarceration, and that specific line about him breaking a window because the voices told him to do it.
It just feels mean-spirited, and honestly, it's not relevant to the main point about Marxism.
Right.
The weakness is that it frames her entire political motivation as just a distorted view from personal bitterness. It treats her politics like a symptom of trauma, not a chosen worldview.
That's a critical distinction. If the argument is she is a trained Marxist, then saying she's just bitter because our family had problems actually undermines the trained part.
It completely undermines. It suggests she just stumbled into this emotionally.
And it also invites sympathy for her. You start feeling bad about her brother's mental health struggles, and suddenly the narrator looks like a bully picking on a tragic family situation.
You lose the moral high ground. So the suggestion is to pivot entirely, go from psychological speculation to ideological excavation.
Proves she's a revolutionary, not just a traumatized kid.
Respect her as a political operator. So for a concrete example,
You cut the story about her brother breaking the window.
cut it completely. It doesn't prove she's a Marxist. Instead, use that time to do a deeper dive on that Labor Community Strategy Center that the script mentioned. What classes did she take? What books were on the syllabus?
Oh, I like that. So instead of saying she resents white people from her time at a white school,
Which is just a guess.
you quote her own words where she calls herself a trained organizer.
Exactly. Shows she's motivated by a political framework, not just, childhood envy. It elevates the critique from a personal attack to a real clash of worldview.
It makes her a formidable opponent, which actually justifies the level of concern the script is trying to create.
If she's just a bitter person, she's not a threat to Western civilization. If she's a trained operative, well, maybe she is.
It all comes back to credibility, which brings us to the elephant in the room.
The coin in the room.
The coin in the room. The placements and the execution of that commercial break completely undermines the gravity of everything being said.
It's a huge pivot, right? The script goes from the white man behind Black Lives Matter straight into a sales pitch for a $10 Second Amendment coin.
Being a little shiny.
The weakness there is just severe tonal whiplash. You go from the destruction of Western civilization to it's shiny. It makes the narrator look like a grifter.
It really does.
It says the world is ending, but first, buy this trinket. It completely trivializes the danger you just spent 5 minutes establishing.
You're building all this tension, and the ad just pops the balloon.
So the suggestion is simple. Separate the commercial from the content.
Just move the ad.
That's the best option. Move it to the very end, or make it a distinct pre-roll. Don't put it right between your hook and your thesis. It's the worst possible place for it.
And what if, for some reason, it has to stay in the middle?
Then you have to link it thematic. You can't say, I love coins. It's just a cool thing. You have to frame the purchase as a way to support the investigation.
So something like, investigations like this require resources. To help us keep digging, consider supporting the channel by...
Yes, that maintains the investigator persona we talked. It makes the transaction feel like a contribution to the cause, not just buying a collectible.
It respects the audience. It says, we're in this together, not I'm selling you stuff.
Exactly. It all connects. The credibility, the tone, the logic, it's all part of the same pack.
So to wrap this all up, there is a lot of really strong raw material here. The research on Eric Mann and the Weather Underground, that's solid. The quotes from Cullers are real. The foundation is there.
The foundation is absolutely there. The house just needs some remodel. It needs to feel less like a haunted house and more like a courthouse.
Structural integrity.
Exact. Okay, so let's recap the main actionable advice for the list. First, on logical validity, you need to replace the fruit of the poisonous tree argument with direct evidence. Stop just listing the mentor's crimes.
And start comparing the mentor's writings to the mentee's policies. Put them side by side.
Second, the tone. Neutralize the descriptive language. You have to become that cold investigator. Let the evidence provide the shock, not your adjective. Get rid of phrases like pseudo-intellectual and crazier still.
Third, the ad hominem attacks. Cut the personal stories about the family members, especially the stuff about the brother's mental illness. You need to pivot from speculating about her psychology
to excavating her ideology. Make her a formidable opponent, not just a tragic figure.
And finally, fix that commercial break. A shiny coin can't interrupt the end of civilization. move the ad to the end, or, at the very least, frame it as a way to fund the investigation itself.
This script has the potential to be a really devastating critique, but right now it reads too much like a partisan rant to convince anyone who isn't already in the choir.
And the goal should be to convince the unconvinced.
With these shifts, it could become a definitive piece of commentary. We'd invite you to revise it, especially by removing those family anecdotes and adjusting the tone, and please, send it in again. We would love to see the next draft. Thanks for listening.